Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast. Powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Today we have a special Coach's Preview. I'm joined by Mark Reeder, head coach at Liberty High School, the Eagles. Coach, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Always appreciate coming in to talk a little ball.
Absolutely. I was bummed last year. I thought we had a really good one on the schedule last year, and we got rained out.
Yeah, it was not a great day for baseball. I mean, I believe it was cold and windy.
Still played, right?
We did. We got it in, and I think it was, if I remember right, it was a pretty good ball game, but it was just typical St. Louis weather of, I think it was beautiful the day before, and it was 40 and rainy and windy, and I think it was probably beautiful the next day when we went over to South. So
yeah. I mean, we just couldn't get the rain to stop. It was just kind of misting. It was kind of, and in fact, I think that's the only reason you played is because your field was.
Yeah, I think we were supposed to be at South.
Yes,
and I think that's happened. Quite a few years in a row. I think there was a stretch. I think Friedel was telling me that we'd played like 7 straight home games against South, and it's kind of nice not having to go over there. And then we went over there the next day, and I think we got our butts kicked, and it was like, well, this is why we don't like coming over here.
Oh, mercy. That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it goes. It's the G.A.C. It's always a tough one, no matter where you're playing.
No doubt.
Up and down. You guys, let's talk about it, though. You guys are moving up. You're leaving the Central. Timberland's coming down to the Central. You guys are moving up into the G.A.C. South. Has that changed your approach at all?
Not really. I mean, for the last handful of years, we play everybody in the South as it is, and pretty much the G.A.C. South has been our district as well. Yeah, it's going to be a challenge, no doubt. The Central's been a challenge for the last 3 years, since I've been at Liberty. When you talk about East and South specifically, for the duration of those 3 years, Washington had a nice little run in there. And then always, North is a tough out. I think I'm forgetting somebody else in the Central. Who am I forgetting?
Who are we forgetting?
East, North, South, Washington. I feel terrible. I'm leaving somebody out.
Oh, gosh. I know, right? Who are we leaving out? Can't be.
Anyways.
Yes.
I apologize. Whoever it is, I'm sorry. It's not intentional. Yeah, we're excited for the challenge of the South. We know, obviously, very strong teams, top to bottom, year in and year out. It's not just Howell and Zumwalt West. It's Troy, Howell Central, Howell North. We know Tuesday, Wednesday. Holt was also, there you go.
And they've moved to the north.
They moved to the north, yep. Yeah. So a little bit of changes in the GAC. But yeah, we're excited for the move. We know it's going to be a tough chore for us, just like it's been in the Central. But I think our kids and our staff are excited for the opportunity.
That's one of the things that's going to be interesting. You guys had some big-time arms last year. I always love to start with pitching because I think that, especially in the GAC, you start at conference play Tuesday, Wednesday. You got to have some dudes coming up on the mound for you.
For sure. We lost I would say probably our top 5 arms from last year. 4 of those 5 are pitching in college right now, and the other one's playing college football. To replace those kids, I think our staff's going to look a little different, not only from, the actual bodies themselves, kind of some power arms last year, a lot of strikeouts. Mm-hmm. I think this year's group is going to be more of, pounding the strike zone, balls in play, and letting our defense work. So I think it's just going to look a little different, and it's going to take some time to figure out who those guys are going to be for us that are going to come in and find ways to get outs for us.
Who are some seniors that are going to be maybe some guys that can come in and anchor that?
Yeah, there's probably 4 off the top of my head that are guys that have competed for us the last couple of years. Tommy Vanderplug, who threw about 20 innings for us last year, dealt with a little bit of some arm issues towards the end of the season, but he's back and in prime for a big senior year for us. Josh Pierce, who threw predominantly out of the bullpen last year. Don't know what his role will look like yet. We're hoping a starter, but he was also a pretty big piece out of the pen for us last year, so that's going to be one we're going to have to figure out. Drew Crittenden's back. Drew threw, same thing, 15, 20 innings for us last year, and just a competitor, just a kid that he wants the ball, never wants to come out of the game, kind of fiery, which I like. He's got some personality to him, but just comes in and pounds the strike zone and loves to compete. And then the fourth senior, Ethan Griffith, who threw a lot for us as a sophomore, not as much last year. Same thing, a strike thrower, a competitive kid. Doesn't say much, real quiet kid, so we're hoping him as a senior, get him out of his shell a little bit. But those four, we're kind of hoping as seniors can kind of lead our staff and whatever that role looks like for them.
Now, the big name that, the sophomore Ryan Dobratz, where do you see him fitting in? Is he ready for that kind of role at the varsity level?
We're hoping so. He got a little taste last year, and spent most of the year with the JV, but got a few innings with us. We think Ryan could be a pretty special kid. He's 16 years old,
right?
But he's 6'3", 195. He looks the part. And just competes. Nice kid. Doesn't say a whole lot. Doesn't talk a whole lot. But we think he's got a pretty high ceiling and could potentially be, another big arm, big name arm that comes out of Liberty. We've had a few over the last few years. So we're excited to see. Going to be a tough still for him as a sophomore. That's still, he's still a sophomore, right? So for us, it is, there's an excitement, but we kind of have to be, we have to keep it
judicious, right?
Judicious. There's a great word for it. So we're excited. I know Ryan's excited. He's worked real hard the offseason, had a great summer, and we're excited to see what he's going to do on the mound and also in the field at a corner infield spot and at the plate. I know last year there were a few rounds of BP where I got tired of him hitting the ball so far that we couldn't find the baseball, afterwards. So he could be a middle of the lineup guy for us too. But again, just tempering those expectations a little bit, trying not to put too much pressure on him, just go out and kind of be himself and play his game.
Got some juniors in there, Coach?
We do. We do. A couple guys from the JV last year. Davis Muth, who Davis has gotten huge over the offseason. He's put on some good weight. He's a big, tall, lean kid. That was probably the JV's number one last year. Mm-hmm. So we're excited to see him kind of make that jump from sophomore to junior year, the JV to varsity. And are expecting some good things out of him as well. A few other guys, Jackson Ryan, who will be a middle infield guy for us as well. I would say probably a bullpen type guy for us. Come in, pound the strike zone, can kind of pitch backwards, off speed in the 2-0 counts, the 3-1 counts, kind of keep hitters off balance a little bit. Yeah. Just a kid that kind of knows how to pitch, right. Real fun to watch. Caden Thornton's another one. Caden's going to be in the catching mix for us, which is a tough year for him in the catching mix, which we'll get to. But also a kid that could come in, threw very well for the JV last year in his opportunities. And again, excited to see these juniors, make that jump from the JV to the varsity and how that's going to, that could be a big impact of how well our season goes, or maybe our season not go so well, depending on how some of those guys can contribute for us.
You've got guys with experience, and I always look at defense, as coming back and, as you mentioned, getting those catches. Yeah, Jacob Robinson caught for you. You have Jake Greer. Those two guys behind the plate in the field.
Easton Gain, not Jake
Easton
Robinson.
Gain,
Yeah.
excuse me. I'm sorry.
Jacob probably could catch for us if we really needed him to.
Sorry.
No
Easton
worries.
Gain. But these guys have been there. They're swap time and whatnot. They hit the ball a ton. Senior leadership. What are you expecting out of those guys?
Exactly what you just mentioned. Those guys at any other school, those guys can be starters, both of them, right?
Yeah.
And so balancing that, last year we Easton didn't catch as much. We had an injury at first base, and we kind of slid Easton to our first baseman to play first for us. So Jake caught a lot more than we were maybe anticipating last year. We're hoping to get them a little more balanced out, just to give each of those guys a little break. And if one's not catching, the other's going to be DHing. Is kind of how we see that kind of playing out. The kid coming back from injury, who we could talk, Cooper Friend, as long as he's able to get in at first base. If not, Easton is more than willing to go back there and play a little first base till Cooper's ready to go. But yeah, 2 senior leaders, great kids, kind of the pulse of our team. At least I think that going into this year's group. Both committed to college, Jake to Heartland, Easton to John Wood, and both of those kids will go on and have success when they leave us, and we're very fortunate that we've had them for the last 4 years.
Now you lost some guys up the middle from last year's squad. How are you replacing that middle infield and center field?
That's going to be one of the biggest, I'm not going to say challenges, I think going to be the biggest kind of puzzle piece for us. We have a lot of options. So we have a lot of kids that got a little bit of experience last year. And it's going to be, what kind of serves our team the best moving forward.
Yeah.
A handful of those guys will pitch as well, so that will change, what the infield looks like kind of on a day-to-day basis. But Jacob Robinson played second for us last year, did a great job. We're expecting him to kind of stay there. There's a chance he could slide over to shortstop, depending on how things shake out. Ethan Griffith, who we talked about on the mound, Ethan's going to be a middle infield guy. I'm not sure exactly where he would fit just yet. Could also be a third baseman for us as well. Jackson Ryan, who I would say probably has the best glove in our program. Is he going to be able to do it at our level? Is he going to be able to handle it at the plate? I think so. I think he's going to be an exciting one to watch for us in the spring.
Now, is he a underclassman?
He's a junior. He's a junior that, we debated a few times last year. Do we bring him up and give him a chance? And it never worked out, and never had the need to do that. But he's one that has been on our radar for a while, and we're kind of, again, making that sophomore to junior jump, and hopefully he can find a role there that gets him in the lineup every day. And all those kids we're talking about too are just they have the versatility that if they don't necessarily win an infield spot, they could end up, if they can hit, we want them in the lineup, they could end up as a corner outfielder for us. Which is good to have those types of players in your program, and I think all those kids are willing to do, hey, whatever the team needs, if this gets me on the field, I'm willing to move to a spot that maybe I don't feel is my best position, but if it's what the team needs, and maybe that's what we need to do.
You had a lot of speed in center field last year. Who's that guy who's going to run down all those doubles for you, Coach?
We would like to have Cohen back. I think unfortunately he's out of eligibility. He's probably, in all my years of high school baseball, he's been one of the more enjoyable outfielders to watch. Mm-hmm. Even watching opponents, whatever, we pretty much knew if a ball was hit in the left center gap to right center gap, anything in between, I wouldn't even watch him catch it most of the time. I'm putting down in my pitching chart, hey, fly out to 8, and moving on to the next guy. You don't replace that. You got to find somebody that's, and we have a senior returning, Carson Scroggin, who's going to get the first crack at that. I think Carson will end up playing in the outfield for us. He's going to get the first shot at center field. Yeah. Same thing. He's very fast. He's very rangy. He will be able to go get it. Phenomenal human being. He's going to the Air Force Academy. I mean, he wants to serve the country. That's just we're lucky to have a kid like that in our program. That not a lot of teams get kids like that. And he was banged up a little bit at the start of last year. Kind of started to get healthy toward the end of the year. Ended up in the starting lineup for probably the last 3 to 4 weeks, and so we're excited to have him for a full season, being healthy, and kind of taking charge of the outfield.
Very good. It's always tough when you had a lot of those kids in those places for multiple years. So this year's the challenge, it looks like is you've got some arms, you got some guys, but everything is kind of like, where does the pieces fit together? Mm-hmm. When you start the season, I know you'll have tryouts and whatnot. how many weeks will you put into giving guys opportunities at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, it's a unique spot for us because we haven't had that the last few years. We've always had a handful of returners kind of at every position. Probably until we kind of figure things out, right? I mean, what day one looks like when we open on March 21st is not what it's going to look like when districts start on May 21st or whatever it is. Whatever our roster looks like, all those guys are going to get opportunities, and it's going to be, again, how can we find our best 9 or best 8, taking the pitcher out of it, to compete on a day-to-day basis. And if you're not starting on day one, or how are you staying ready for your opportunity so when that chance does come, you're able to kind of seize that and take advantage of it. And those are conversations that we'll have with individual kids and also with the entire team. Like, it's kind of a blank slate.
Right.
Outside of, do we think Easton and Jake are going to be in the middle of the order and playing every day? Yeah, we expect that. But you know what? We have another catcher, Caden Thornton, who I brought up as an arm. If Caden somehow takes the spot over at catcher, that only makes us better. So that competition, that daily grind of pushing each other and getting reps and competing and making each other better, we'll kind of determine what that looks like. And that's the fun part of coaching, is trying to put those pieces together. And some days we do a good job of putting them together, and other days we look like we don't know what the heck we're doing, and we're okay with that. It's as long as we're getting those kids, buying into the team, and, hey, let's doing what we can to kind of help us be successful as a group.
Third or fourth year?
Year 4.
Year 4. So you're going into 4th year. And like I said, this is still pretty, establishing your culture. You've had those 3 years. You've got a lot of the kids that are coming up now have been there since you started the program, with the program. Is there a difference in that as these kids are coming up to the varsity level? I
think so. And I think sometimes I even have to remind, Liberty is still an infant in terms of, schools and programs. This will be year 10 of a varsity season. My 4th year, and I'm the 4th head coach in those 10 years. So there's been a lot of change, and there hasn't been a whole lot of consistency from year to year or multiple years. So yeah, trying to build that from when kids are coming in as freshmen to where now they're kind of seeing the fruits of their labor as seniors. Again, that's part of the excitement and the fun of it. Another challenge is, we've had some coaches that have kind of come and gone, and trying to get that consistency. We'll have the same freshman coach this year that we've had last year. So getting that same message where kids are constantly coming in and getting that from the same guy their freshman year, to then moving into the the JV and then to us, it's a challenge, and it's tough to find. And I've been blessed. I've been very lucky. We've got some really quality men that I work with. So yeah, just to continue to kind of build that foundation of what we expect from kids at the varsity level, and how that trickles down then to the JV and the freshmen, and getting that message across to those kids as well.
I think it's interesting. Especially, you start looking at Class 6 baseball in the state of Missouri. It's really good across the board. Are you taking a different role? And I think it's transitioning to this quite a bit. I'm seeing coaching staffs grow at the varsity level, and I think it probably depends on the program. Do you feel like you're more of a manager in that respect, rather than coaching in a specific role? You having the guys dealing with more the coaching, and you're managing the entire staff, kind of like that CEO look? Yes, to an extent. I'd say both, and I think it's certainly a combination. And we have the biggest coaching staff we have 9 coaches this year.
Wow. We have 5 at the varsity level. We have 2 at the JV and 2 at the freshman, and a good balance of young and old, which I think is always helpful. We have our new freshman assistant played for us 2 years ago, so he's 20 years old. And he's going to be a great coach in the long run. I think he's a great coach now, but just I'm getting older, and and just some, even the connecting with kids. Not that I have an issue with that, but there's sometimes kids say stuff, and I'm like, I have no idea what that means anymore, and even in the classroom, it's like, man, I feel like I'm getting old.
Yeah.
But yeah, having that, we have a variety of skill sets within our coaching staff and a variety of teaching methods. And you've got some that have a ton of energy. You have some, I'm not a super energetic guy. I'm kind of the same way every single day. But having that variety of maybe teaching and coaching methods to where maybe if I'm trying to teach it and it's not getting through, hey, maybe this guy can do it in a better way than I can.
Right.
And it's finding ways to, keep all 9 of us on the same page. Not that we always agree on everything, but keeping us all, pulling on the same rope and in the same direction. That is probably more of me, the CEO type of with our staff as opposed to with the kids, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think it's very important. I mean, you're talking about, building a program. And I think with the Class 6, things are changing. The landscape's changing, once you get past, if you get out of districts, you got to go play a best 2 out of 3. Mm-hmm. You got to have an understanding of your team and the best opportunities. What do you think about the new rule?
I like it. It certainly changes. It changes the game for everybody, right? You can't just have one dude that is gonna, that could potentially, depending on how your district's set up. The way ours was last year, you could have thrown your one in the opening round, in the championship, in the quarterfinal game, and in the semifinal game. Right, yeah. So one dude could win you 4 postseason games, which if you have that one dude and you're winning, it's great. But if not, the 2 out of 3. I mean, baseball's made to be played in a series. You look at colleges, you look at the pros. 2 out of 3, more than likely, the best team is going to advance.
Yeah.
In that scenario. Now, it's not always the case. It's baseball. Crazy things happen, but I think it's a unique setup that I think there's a lot of guys in the state that are happy with what that's going to look like. And I know if we're there, great. If we're not, I know I'll be there watching somebody else play 2 out of 3, and you're going to have a great environment for high school baseball.
Absolutely. And I think, it really sets a mission in your lower, in the freshman JV. You're needing to develop your pitching staff. Right? I mean, I think it puts a premium on building a pitching staff. Who are your arms on that backside, that 5, 6, 7? Can you get to 7 and 8 guys, right?
Yeah, and even just an emphasis too on your bullpen. There's a lot of times where, maybe you have a pretty good 1-2 and they throw your conference games, and these guys are maybe seeing a weekend game or a Friday afternoon game. They're not in those tight, high pressure environments that Tuesday, Wednesday are in the G.A.C. And now you're asking a kid in a quarterfinal game who hasn't, I think it's good for the game. I think this first year will be really interesting to see how it plays out across the state in Class 5 and Class 6, and just kind of excited to see what that looks like.
Absolutely. Talk to us about offense. You guys were able to score runs last year. Where are you finding those runs this year?
Certainly going to lean on those 3 guys we kind of highlighted at the beginning: Easton, Jacob, and Jake. I think we've got some pretty good speed. We will run. We will kind of push the envelope with that. I think some of our younger kids are going to give us an opportunity to maybe bunt a little more than we have in the past. I don't know how much that's talked about in these things, outside of Tony and Eric. But I guess Justin too and Troy, they do that as well. But yeah, it's going to be, we'll figure out what that's truly going to look like once we get started. But I think, again, just the dynamic of our offense, hopefully will be not committed to one thing. Hopefully we are dynamic enough that, hey, we're seeing a dude today. If we got to get a couple bunts down, this is how we're going to beat you today. Or, hey, we're going to have to outslug you today because our pitching hasn't been great and we got to win an 8-7 game instead of a 1-0 game. We feel like we have the lineup to do that as well. And we're not going to rely on just one guy. We're hoping 1 through 9 can give us a chance day in and day out.
Yeah. Leadoff wise, you guys have always had a lot of speed, so that seems to me the bunt game in the G.A.C. is there. It puts a lot of pressure on the defense. Are you? So that's your mindset.
It does, and it's funny, just watching college baseball that started this past weekend. It's to just get a bunt down and the defense not be able to field it and throw it over to first base. It's just amazing the panic that sometimes sets in on a defense when you're able to do that. And it seems to snowball. It's like they make the one mistake. You try to you're just sacrifice bunting. I just want this guy to get to second base, and they throw it down the right field line, and now you're second and third, and you squeeze, and they throw it down the line again, and it's just the chaos that it can create on something that is so simple. It's got to be a weapon for us, and it's going to be something that is an emphasis for us more so than it's been in the past, just with some of the kids that we know that have the capability of doing it on a consistent basis. And then on the flip side is defending it as well, because we know we're going to see it, right?
So yeah, probably more than you have in the past.
Probably, especially when you're talking
right?
in the South did quite a bit. Frito liked to bunt with South, and they had some kids that could do it. Outside of that we didn't see it a ton.
Right.
But yeah, we have to be prepared for it, and it makes you have to practice it a little more, and it makes the kids not even necessarily, but it makes the kids to pay attention and to understand that it's part of the game, and that we have to execute, or else we could look very silly throwing the ball all around the infield. And we see it happens every year. It happens across all levels of such an easy thing to pick up a ball and throw it to first, but for whatever reason the pressure can get to kids. And
I always said, I say this, I know it's maybe somebody thinks it sounds bad, but if you don't execute, you will be executed.
I think that's an old quote from somebody that it's amazing the simple thing of a bunt can especially you're talking get into postseason, like that ends your season pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
I think our district championship was won on a bunt, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
And that's two teams that take pride in it and do a lot. It's going to be that's the game in the G.A.C. South, and we're excited.
It really is.
We're excited for that
because Coach Beckman, I know he does a lot of those stuffs, a lot of small ball in the big time conference there, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. You guys opening in any tournaments this year?
We switched over to the St. Charles West tournament.
Okay.
So we'll open with Battle on Friday the 21st, and I know they've got a pretty big time arm that I would imagine we'll see right out of the gates. Just hope it's not 40 degrees and windy that day, because it would not be a fun day to be a hitter when you're seeing 92 plus or whatever it is that's going to be coming out. Yeah, it's a little different opening for us than the Troy tournament. But just another chance to go compete, and I like the tournament to start the year. It gives you something to compete for. Winning a championship, right out of the gates is something you always want to kind of get started off on the right foot with.
Right. I like it. I think the tournaments are a lot of fun. I think it gives, and as we were talking, it gives you the opportunity to kind of see multiple kids. You're going to get multiple starts. You're going to get multiple opportunities.
Yeah, we'll have pitchers will be on, a pitch count, so we'll get to see a lot of arms early in the season, from our own staff, and kind of figure out what guys are capable of doing, and who maybe we see as conference starters right now. It could change by the end of that first week of, hey, this guy, had 2 opportunities and really executed and showed his stuff. Maybe this guy needs a chance to be one of our conference starters. Absolutely.
We're always looking forward to it. We'll see you out at the G.A.C. Classic.
Love the G.A.C. Classic. I think you and I got on, remember, maybe it was Mitch and I got on a tangent last year in the box, and we were 15 minutes in. I'm like, holy cow, this got derailed really quickly. So I apologize about that. Sometimes,
oh man, that's always fun.
Sometimes I get to talking, and all of a sudden I look up, and here we are. It's 30 minutes later, and
that's what it's about, right? We can talk baseball all day.
Yeah, for sure. And it's this baseball, especially around here, the baseball community is so small. You get to everybody knows everybody, or knows someone that knows them, and the longer you're in it, this is year 19 of high school baseball for me. So I've met a lot of people over the years, and it's always nice to be able to connect with those guys, and then to do it while you're watching competitive baseball. And I think we had a beautiful day last year for it, so hopefully we can draw up weather to make that happen again at the end of April.
Yeah, I think it is a little later this year than they did last.
Yeah, I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but
I think it is.
I think the later the better, just in terms of. Although I think we're the 4:15 game, so it's not like it's dark and getting cold out. I don't handle the cold very well anymore.
Right? Yeah, I don't blame you. I appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Folks, thanks for tuning in. Hey, all you folks at Liberty, I know you do. We've seen the crowds. Appreciate everybody getting out. Support this team. They do a great job. Coach Reeder does a great job. Make sure you're out there rooting on your team. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what we're doing, please hit the like button there. That helps the algorithm. We appreciate it. Hit the subscribe. Hit the dinger next to it. It's not a home run, but it does get you notifications for upcoming episodes just like this. We appreciate it very much. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, throw some strikes. Right, Coach?
Absolutely. Fill it up.
Yeah. Hitters?
Put it in play.
Oh, I like that.
Put it in play.
Put it in
if you can get it over the fence, great. But if not, hey, we're just talking about bunting. Just get the dang thing down and run like heck to first base.
That's good advice. We'll see you all next time.